Hello everyone, welcome to Shifting Gears and welcome to the detailed ride review video of the Triumph Thruxton 400. So very quickly, first let's talk about the specifications. The Thruxton 400 is powered by the same TR series 398cc single cylinder engine which produces 42 PS of power and 37.5 Newton meters of torque. So you are now getting 2 PS more power. The engine is coupled to the same 6-speed gearbox with a slip and assist clutch. The ground clearance number is 158 millimeters, which is the lowest amongst siblings. The wheelbase is shorter at 1376 millimeters. Seat height is also lowest at 795 millimeters. Curb weight is 183 kg, which is 4 kg higher than the Speed 400. You get a 13-liter fuel tank capacity, and the bike is riding on 17-inch wheels, but with a lower side profile. There are a lot of changes to the internals of the engine, because of which now you have 1000 RPM more in terms of the red line. So the rev limiter has shifted from 9200 to 10200 RPM. The 0 to 100 sprint can now be achieved 1 second faster in 6.7 seconds, and 0 to 60 can be achieved in 0.1 seconds faster in 2.9 seconds. For heat dissipation and comfort to the rider, the radiator shrouds have been reprofiled towards the rear end. 80% of the peak torque, which is 30 Newton meters, is available starting from 3500 RPM. And because this is a cafe racer, Triumph did all of these changes because they had to achieve the ton, which is 100 miles per hour. Hence, the top speed of the Thruxton 400 is 161 kilometers per hour. There are also other changes, such as the slightly tighter rake, because of which the wheelbase has become shorter. The rear subframe is slimmer. The suspension has 10 mm more travel at both ends, and the fuel efficiency number has dropped to 27.5 kmpl from 28.5 kmpl. And similar to the UG Speed 400, the original Speed 400, the sprockets are now 4315. So those were all the important numbers which you should make note of about this Thruxton 400. And right now I am leaving the premises where I first saw the sketches for this motorcycle almost 4 years ago. I was a part of the design and development process in terms of giving feedback of what should we get here in the Indian market. And finally, we have the product, the Thruxton 400, which has been launched first in India, and of course it will be sold in the global markets. So let us begin with this detailed ride review video in step-by-step fashion. So you're getting more performance, you're getting a higher top speed, and a lot has changed. So on the Thruxton 400, you will notice that there was a lot of engineering effort that was put in. However, even with the higher performance, you are not getting any new riding modes with this motorcycle. So you ride the bike in one standard mode, no eco mode, sport mode, or city ride mode. The only thing you can control is traction control. So you can use the control button over here, and then on the speedometer cluster you can see TTC on, traction control is on, and you can deactivate it if you think it is something that you do not need. I have left it active at all times throughout my review ride experience. So let's just start riding this a bit faster, because that is the whole purpose of this cafe racer. The first thing that I want to speak about is the wind blast that I am feeling. Now, this is a cafe racer, so you have that cafe racer style modern classic fairing at the front. But it is not a fairing which has a big windscreen which is right in front of you. As you can notice, This fairing is for times when you tuck in and when you want to achieve that high top speed number. Otherwise, when you are riding in standard format, when you are upright and riding this cafe racer, you are going to feel some amount of wind blast. And I'm not really complaining about it, because today I'm riding the bike in Pune around the Bajaj plant, and it is a hot, humid day today, and I don't really mind any kind of wind blast. It is actually keeping me cool. But nevertheless, what I'm trying to say is that the windscreen or the fairing is not going to aid in terms of keeping you stress free from the wind blast, if at all you are someone who tours at triple digit speeds. Now, this bike is faster compared to the siblings. So you have the Speed T4, you have the Speed 400, you have the Scrambler 400X and the XC models too. Compared to all of them, this fifth motorcycle based on the TR series engine, this is the fastest. This is very unique. This has the most amount of engineering differences as well. But I think they have done a fine job in distinguishing this product. But how many people actually love a cafe racer, we will find out now, because finally, because Triumph has launched this Thruxton 400, we have a product for the mass market which is actually quite capable and also almost affordable. Because the Royal Enfield Continental GT650, it is an expensive motorcycle. It is also a heavy motorcycle. And compared to that, the GT650, this Thruxton 400 is still a much better built product in terms of quality control. But we will talk about all of those nuances later. What I want to say is that, does the Indian market accept a cafe racer? We will have to wait and watch, because now this is a very beautiful option to even consider, because not just to ride, even to look at. This Thruxton 400, they have stayed true to their design DNA, the lineage, the heritage of the Thruxton, and the whole, nostalgia about cafe racers. Triumph has achieved to deliver the looks. So I hope that we are clear about the wind blast point. This fairing, this cafe racer fairing, is not going to help much in that department. But if you tuck in to achieve that high top speed number, then the aerodynamic efficiency will allow you to hit a ton, which is 161 kilometers per hour, 100 miles per hour. That was the whole purpose of this exercise, in terms of increasing the power and making changes to the sprockets and allowing the bike to rev higher. Also, because of that, you will feel like this motorcycle is more eager to ride. So when you sample this motorcycle with the Speed 400, you will feel those subtle changes. Now, the second most important point to talk about after this beautiful fairing is, of course, the rider's triangle. Now, with this bike, you are getting clip-on handlebars. They are narrower, they are lower. Then the foot pegs, they are higher and they are pushed back. So you are more like sitting on the motorcycle, not in the motorcycle. And because of that, you are in a sporty position even when you are upright. Forget about crouching and tucking in and achieving a high speed. Even when you are just upright and riding this bike casually, you are in a sporty, committed riding stance. Triumph says that this riding posture is somewhere in between the Yamaha R15 and the Continental GT650. So not as committed as the R15, but not as relaxed as the GT650. So that is a reference point that they have shared with us. And me, with my height of 5 feet 8 inches, my weight of 82 kg, I have been at ease. Of course, I am feeling some pain on my wrist, because I have not been on a committed riding stance for a long time, at least for 2 months. So I'm feeling some pain on my wrists because all my upper body weight is on my arms. not so much on the shoulders and not so much on the elbows. So if you buy this bike, in the initial few days of ownership, you will find yourself in a situation where you want to just, relax your wrists. So that is an honest opinion. That is something that you will definitely feel. So there is no denying that fact that this is a sporty, committed motorcycle. Also, on the fuel tank, you have plenty of space to grab onto the fuel tank when you are riding this bike hard and fast through canyon roads, through ghat roads. So you can hold on to the fuel tank and have some fun and attack those corners. So this motorcycle, this Triumph Thruxton 400, is going to be more engaging because of this overall riding posture and rider ergonomics. The heel plates are also quite nicely positioned, so you stay in place, and also the seat has a lot of room for you to move around. Even if you're tall, even if you're healthy, the seat is reasonable. For my weight of 82 kg, the seat base is enough for me to sit on it comfortably and for me to ride this for long hours. I am having no problems in terms of ergonomics. It is just that the rider's triangle is committed, no denying that fact. So if at all you are planning to buy this bike and then you plan to commute on it daily, first take a long test ride and then figure out if you can do this on a daily basis. If you're going to have a pillion, and if the pillion, he or she, whoever, has an inclination to rest more on you than balance by themselves, then it is going to add more weight on your wrists. So that is also a strong point that you have to consider if you are someone who rides with a pillion a lot of time. In terms of the visuals, everything looks very, very beautiful. The bike is beautiful to look at when you are walking towards it. The color schemes are nice, they are bright, but the graphics, they are just about average. They could have been better, or it could have been a more premium looking paint finish. It's not that the quality is bad, it's just that it doesn't wow you too much in terms of the color schemes. But when you are in the riding position, these clip-ons, very nicely done. The cables are also decently managed, and the very cool thing is this USB point over here on the clip-on handlebar. That's a fab job in terms of integration for convenience that Bajaj has managed, that Triumph has managed on this Thruxton 400. These mirrors, these bar end circular mirrors, round mirrors, they do a fine job of allowing you to see what is approaching you from behind or what you are leaving behind if you're riding fast. So I have no complaints with them either, and they are very easy to adjust on the go. Then there is a point of this familiar speedometer cluster in terms of rider's point of view. It's alright, it's the same that you see on the Speed T4, on the Speed 400, on the Scrambler X and XC. It's good in terms of the information that it shares, it is easy to read, but it is just that the RPM meter, the tachometer, is absolutely useless. And if this is the motorcycle which has a higher rev limiter, 10,200 RPM, if that was the effort, what I would have liked in terms of better differentiation is that this dominant speedometer actually became a tachometer with a nice needle revving all the way, and then you could have just had a digital speed readout. Why not? They could have done that as well. But Bajaj being Bajaj and Triumph listening to Bajaj's economies of scale, this is what you are going to get, not just in India but everywhere around in the world. Not bad, it is just that it could have been more different. Right now we are on the highway on the outskirts of Pune, and the roads are a bit better right now. And let me tell you, now when I'm riding at 80 kilometers per hour, or roughly 80 kilometers per hour, I'm not feeling any vibrations as such. So there is some mild buzz that I can feel on the handlebar, not to the point that I'm going to complain about it. The same amount of buzz on the foot pegs too, not so much on the seat, but if I grab onto the tank, then the same amount of buzz on the tank as well. Again, let me say it out loud. It is not at all troublesome. It is just maybe you can pass it on as the character of the motor and motorcycle. Let me downshift. Let us rev hard. When I do this, once the revs climb above 8000 rpm, that is when the vibrations start to, you know, creep in a bit too much. That is when you might not be very happy revving the motor that high. The buzz then becomes more pronounced. So you will have to consider that and keep that in mind. So overall, in terms of buzz, it is acceptable if you are riding at city speeds in city limits. So in sixth gear, if you are riding between 80 to 100 kilometers per hour, it is no major problem. It is not at all something that will trouble you. But if you are in a lower gear at a higher rev, at a higher speed, then the buzz is something that you will feel. There is no escape from that. The next point to consider is acceleration. So check this out. Traction control was flashing for a split second, and there is a lot of buzz that I'm feeling right now when the revs are higher up. And this bike, it can achieve speeds of almost 140 in no time. So climbing over 100 kilometers per hour is absolutely easy. This Thruxton 400, it is not a slow motorcycle at all. Any of the new Triumph bikes for the mass market, the affordable bikes with the TR series engine, none of them are slow. They are rapid for city performance, and they are really competent out on the highway too. So if you're gonna go long distance touring, and if you have a certain big bike friends with you, you're not going to be left behind. It is just that you might not have too much punch to ride at serious triple digit speeds, but what the Indian roads allow in general, you will be able to cope up with that just fine. So don't worry about this bike being called the Thruxton, but you being last in your group. If you know the skills, if you have the skills, you will be doing just as good as anybody else with another motorcycle. Let me show you the acceleration one more time. So I'm going to pull over to the shoulder. So now that it is safe, in 3, 2, 1, traction control light is flashing, second gear over 60, third gear you could have almost touched 100, and in no time you are at triple digit speeds. So there is enough punch in this Thruxton 400 to keep you excited and to take you long distance touring. Now every time I'm revving this motorcycle hard, this mirror setting is being changed. I mean, because the vibrations are such that the bar and mirrors are moving. Now I'm sure that they are just not tightened enough. That is why it is happening, because I have not noticed this on their other products with a bar and mirror. So I will let that slide. So yeah, coming back to the performance point, it is great, it is good, it is enjoyable, and it is exciting. So if you are someone who rides with need for speed, there is enough speed to meet your need. But if you are someone who is very practical, let me just pull over and take the shoulder. Check this out. I'm going to show you the tractability. So I'm in fourth gear and the speed is at 30 kilometers per hour. Opening up the gas, no knocking, no hesitation, effortlessly it picked up pace. I will slow down one more time. Okay, so I have now let the speed drop to 20, almost 20. Fourth gear again. Opening up the throttle, no knocking, no jerks. Easily it has started to gain momentum. So there is genuinely good torque available lower down in the rev range, because of which you don't necessarily have to make frequent gear changes. Let me show you the sixth gear tractability. So check this out. Sixth gear now at 40. Alright, so I'm at steady throttle at 40 in sixth gear. Opening up the gas, no jerks, no knocking, did not slip the clutch either, and we are just good to go. So overall, in terms of being practical, this Thruxton 400 is not a bad deal at all. I mean, it is a fast bike when you want it to be, and it can be a slow bike inside the city when you do not want to take things really hard and fast. So I appreciate that. The next point is the gearbox. Now, throughout my review ride experience, I have ridden it for 65 kilometers so far. The gearbox has worked flawlessly, not a single false shift, and it is just as easy as you would expect it to be. The clutch operation is very light, so you will have no complaints with that. You have a slip and assist clutch, it works very well, and when you aggressively downshift, the rear wheel doesn't lock too much, it doesn't hop too much. So when you're riding this bike through your favorite twisty canyon roads, you will have no complaints. It will stay stable. And also, because of that tighter steering geometry now, because of the tighter rake, because of the shorter wheelbase, you will feel like this is a more agile, more nimble motorcycle in the TR series engine range, this Thruxton 400. So yeah, first the gearbox, good, no problems. You also have a gear position indicator, so you get all the necessary information that you need, and usability is also decent, no problems. The next point is the ride quality. Now, the ride quality is a mixed bag, because the discomfort that you're going to feel is primarily going to be because of the riding posture till the time you do not get used to it. That is a fact. If you're buying a cafe racer, be prepared that your initial few days are going to be a bit tough. If you're going out on a long ride, it is going to be a bit tough. If you're riding with a pillion, that pillion is going to drop some of their weight onto you. No denying that fact. But now when I'm riding around Pune, the road surface is average, but it is broken in quite some stretches. But the suspension has been doing a fine job. Now the suspension has been fully retuned, not just the suspension oil, the fluids, but even the springs are different. And also you have 10 mm more suspension travel at both ends on this Thruxton 400. So overall it is a comfortable suspension setup in terms of ride quality. It is just that because you are sitting on the motorcycle and because your weight is more forward onto your wrists, you will constantly feel some pain on your wrist. But otherwise, your back and your bottom, they are not going to complain. That is good. That is not an issue. Also, the seat is wide enough for my bottom for me to rest on it and ride this bike for a long time. So I'm not complaining about that as well. Now, why does a Thruxton, which is more sporty, have more suspension travel? That logic only Triumph and Bajaj know, but nevertheless it is a good thing to have because the Indian road conditions are not really all that great. Speaking about ride quality, when you ride fast, the bike stays planted. It doesn't feel nervous at 100 kilometers per hour, and as soon as I get on the brakes, I do feel some dive at the front because of that maybe extra suspension travel. Check this out. If I slam the brakes, it does dive quite a bit, so that can unsettle the pillion. Make note of that, because you are leaning ahead, your body is in total control because of your riding stance, but your pillion, who is going to be unaware, he or she might definitely feel unsettled if you slam the front brake. So keep that in mind and use the front brake accordingly. It is a sharp brake and it is a noticeable dive. Otherwise, overall, the rider's triangle is sporty, like I said, and the riding comfort is good enough for the Indian cities. And even if you are slicing around traffic, even with the longer suspension, it is not to the point that it is wafty and wallowy. It is stable enough for you to have a lot of fun on this Thruxton 400. The next point, the Apollo tires. Now today we are riding around Pune, in Pune, and it's not raining. It's a dry day. And the tires have done a fine job of offering us decent grip. No complaints. Even under hard braking, no screeching and squealing. So good confidence in terms of even putting the anchors down. For the power that it has, for the acceleration that it can achieve, the sprint times which have improved, for all of that, these tires have proved to be good enough. So I don't expect the tires to be any different. It can be a personal preference. So many journalists would say that I would have preferred X or I would have preferred Y, but what you get is not bad at all. And check this out, even if I'm very fast on the streets and if I'm switching lanes, the tires, they offer good grip. So I mean, there is no reason to complain. The brakes have decent stopping power. Of course, you have dual channel ABS. The front brake bite is much sharper, and you feel that because of that front end dive. The rear brake, not as sharp as the front, but reasonably good to put the anchors down. So when you want to couple the brakes together so that you don't dive too much at the front, I mean, they've done a decent job. This Thruxton 400 is very difficult to fault as such. It is just that only in the ergonomics department you do not get adjustable brake or clutch lever that should have been offered. It is just unreasonable to not give that, because if this is going to be a premium bike, give all those nice things on the motorcycle. As you can notice, it's a very compact motorcycle, so even through the tightest of spots you can ride it very easily. This is a very realistic ride review video which I am bringing to you, riding around inside Pune and not just out on the highway or on ghats and just showing you our editing skills or showing you my riding skills. This is where you are going to ride the most in the real world. And in the real world, this Thruxton 400 is realistic. Wrapping things up, the smaller and significant stuff, everything is ergonomically spot on. Nothing is out of place. All these panels over here for the cafe racer fairing, very neatly styled and put together. Nothing is rattling, nothing is moving, nothing is looking cheap. Just that the paint finish and the sticker job and the color schemes, they could have been more premium, but that is just my opinion. And yeah, it is a beautiful looking bike. It has a mega sporty intent in terms of the rider's triangle. It is a fast engine. It is reliable too, I guess. Now these bikes with the TR series engine, they have clocked thousands of miles in India and we haven't heard of any major concerns as such. And as a product overall, it does tick all the boxes when it comes to being a cafe racer. What is your opinion about this product? You let us know in the comments below. If you have any other questions, ask me and I will try my best to answer your questions so that you can make an informed two-wheeler buying decision. Till next time, subscribe to the Shifting Gears channel, press that bell icon, and always guys, ride safe. The streets are not perfect and they are also filled with idiots. See you soon.